Okay, just 60 seconds and we will begin with today's session.
Prabhu, your voice is still very low.
My voice is still very low? Okay. All right. Okay. I don't understand what's going on. Okay, here we go. That. Okay. So here we go. So, ding, ding, ding. So how do we share this? All right, Hare Krishna. So, I don't know, can you hear me now?
I
Very
can hear
clearly.
you, Prabhu.
Huh?
Very clearly.
Okay.
We can hear you very clearly.
All right, thank you. And thank you again, Chaitanya Prema Prabhu, for organizing this Bhakti Sastri for the continent. And it's a service that's much really needed. As I mentioned at the beginning, that Srila Prabhupada's whole mission was to create a head, because society, Prabhupada describes, society has a body but has no head, which means that the ability to walk and do things is there. The knowledge acquiring senses and all the other senses, and they can function. But without the brain, nothing really works. It's a headless body, it's a lifeless body. And so Prabhupada said, my main mission is to create a Brahminical class for society, because that's what society needs. And Prabhupada would also go on to say, just add Krishna. So we see, and Prabhupada would give that example also of the lame man who has no eyes to see, and he meets up with somebody who can see but cannot walk. So they team together, and together, both of them, the guy that sees climbs on top of the shoulders of the man that can't see but can walk. And so this way they have an alliance and they can reach their destination. So that's the idea of Krishna consciousness in general, at least from the Bhakti Shastri perspective, that the graduates of the Bhakti Shastri, as you can see all these aims, you are meant to embody all these qualities. Because as we see and as we know, the world is in a very interesting stage right now. We are in a very interesting stage right now. The Iranian leader, Khomeini, was just killed and assassinated. And the world is in, and I don't know if it was true, but I heard recently that Trump sent some US forces in Nigeria to fight Islamic extremists. So the world is in a very interesting place right now. And honestly speaking, in terms of the facilities, devotees are redundant. So AI is there. It functions without devotees. Traffic functions without devotees. Laws get passed without devotees. We follow the laws of our local government. That's the idea. So before I continue, I don't know if maybe Chaitanya Prema Prabhu, you can help here, because I see Purushottam Prabhu has turned his camera off, and he hasn't explained himself why he turned his camera off. And this is the point that I'm trying to drive at, that you can't be a head of society if you misbehave, if you can't follow basic rules. How are you going to represent Krishna? His Holiness Badri Narayan Maharaj, I remember when I was serving under him, and we'll get to that just now. And he would tell me, I'm embarrassed sometimes to present myself as a devotee in public. And I would ask him why. He says, because devotees sometimes behave antithetical to the teachings of Krishna consciousness. For instance, instead of being restrained, they show anger. Instead of being restrained, they show jealousy, and so on and so on. And instead of being restrained, they exhibit the qualities that the materialist, exhibit. And so if we don't have any outstanding qualities as Vaishnavas that separates us from the devotees, then we are no different from them. And this is not really a moral judgment on the non-devotees, but it is a more of a judgment on the devotees, specifically all of you who are doing this Bhakti Sastri. So Prabhupada's mission was to present the head of the society. And as graduates, you are meant to be teachers, future leaders, temple president, temple GBC, future GBCs. As you can see, many of them are passing away. So how are you going to represent Srila Prabhupada if you can't follow basic rules? Turn your camera off, it's a struggle. Be on time, it's a struggle. Africa as a continent needs leadership, trained leadership, trained in Krishna consciousness, trained in its application in terms of personal application, but also trained in terms of preaching application, time, place, and circumstance. So this is what we are trying to offer all of you. And if you all prefer to remain Shudras, being guided and being told what to do by other people, then it's fine, because then the continent will continue to be governed by external forces, even though we have such illustrious leadership and mindsets in the country. So this is the lot, and it's not going to start with President Tinubu. It's not going to start with the current president of Ghana. It's not going to start with Ramaphosa. Real change in the world, Srila Prabhupada said, if only 1% of the world becomes Krishna consciousness, everything will change. And right now, at least specifically speaking for the group that I'm in front of, we failed on all counts. We failed on all counts. I would be very hesitant to have all of you, and some of you are initiated, and some of you have been here for many, many years, senior devotees. But I would be very, very cautious for you to represent me as a devotee, as an ISKCON devotee in public. I would feel really embarrassed. All right, so I'm just hoping those strong words can make something, tint your heart a little bit, and understand that we are trying to do something. Prabhupada came here for a mission. We are not on cruise control here. We are on a mission. Srila Prabhupada has a mission. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, when he appeared, this is in the Chaitanya Charitamrita, it's described how he described himself as a gardener. And this is us, exactly. He described himself as a gardener who came to the material world, because when Krishna came, he came with the storehouse of love of Godhead. He left it there, because wherever Krishna is, Krishna Prema Sadhya Kabunai, Shravanadi Sada Chitta Karai Uda. So Krishna Prema is already there in the heart of everybody. And even when Krishna was hit, was there, but not everybody was able to see Krishna for who he is and were able to worship him. Uh, so not everybody was able to worship him because this is described when King Gangsa went to Mathura. Gangsa means cruel one. When he went to Mathura, when he went to Vrindavan and he brought Krishna to Mathura, and of course we know Gangsa sent Akrura. Sorry, Akrura means cruel, to go fetch Krishna and Balaram. They came. A series of events happened. They killed Mushtika and Charuna, the two wrestlers. And then after killing them, prior to them killing them, it's described that everybody, when they heard that there was going to be a wrestling match and Krishna was going to be involved, everybody went to the arena. And when they got there, everybody, all sorts of people were there. Prostitutes were there, brahmanas were there, every single person, because Krishna is God and God is for everybody. It's not that Krishna is only for the elite. And so when they got there, you can read this in the Krishna book in the 10th canto of the Srimad Bhagavatam. Prabhupada describes there that everybody saw Krishna according to their consciousness. Just like Gangsa's clothesman, I don't know what you call him, the wala, I forget what you call him. He washes Gangsa's clothes and he takes them back to Kamsa for him to wear. And he met Krishna and Balaram on the way, and Krishna and Balaram said, please give us some clothes. We are village boys, we just came here, and we want clothes that help us fit in the city. And so this servant was very belligerent. He actually chastised Krishna and Balaram. Unlike the Brahmana's wives, the Kali's what's that serpent's name? Their wives, and actually even the Brahmana's wives, when the cowhead boys went to go ask for alms, they understood who Krishna was and they reciprocated. And so in that arena, everybody saw Krishna according to their consciousness. So some saw him as a young man, some saw him as an eligible bachelor, and it's described that Charuna and Mushtika couldn't. They saw Krishna as death. So that's how we see Krishna. And so even when he was here, not everybody could understand that he is God. And so the storehouse of love of Godhead could only be accessed by a select few because the criteria was very high. And so Mahaprabhu came, he says, I'm a gardener, and what I've come to do is I break this storehouse of love of Godhead. And then after breaking this storehouse of love of Godhead, what do I do? What's the first thing that he did? Anybody know? So he broke this storehouse of love of God that had been lying in wait for over 5,000 years. And what's the first thing he did? So one of the things that we agreed is, if you want to answer, so that we have some type of order, so just raise your hand unless I ask you to just speak, so that we have some order. Anybody know what he did? He tasted it. He tasted love of Godhead. So often we confuse things. We think Krishna consciousness is for preaching to other people. No, it's not. Krishna consciousness is for application in our own lives. I mentioned this in the beginning, and I've think I've also corrected a few students over the course of the session, that we don't use the Bhagavad Gita or the process of Krishna consciousness to try and analyze other people. He's like this, he's like that, but rather we use these teachings to apply them in our own lives. This is called personal application, and it's one of the aims of your Bhakti Sastri. So Mahaprabhu broke the storehouse of Godhead, of love of Godhead, and he tasted it. And then he distributed it to everybody. And then he said, I'm only one gardener. Well, how much can I give? So please help me distribute this love of Godhead everywhere. And this is what Prabhupada's mission is all about. First, we taste Krishna consciousness. You don't meditate on going out and book distribution, but you meditate on what inside the books that you're going to distribute. So this is the goal. Srila Prabhupada is on a mission. We are not here incidentally. We are pieces of a bigger parcel, and if we play our parts, oh my God, this whole continent can turn Krishna consciousness very, very, very quickly. Anyway, so a few days ago, Bhadranarayan Maharaj, His Holiness Bhadranarayan Maharaj, departed this world in Vrindavan, in India. I was very fortunate. I was very fortunate to serve under His Holiness. When I first met him, he was a Grihasta. His name was Bhadranarayan Prabhu. And I got invited to go to San Diego. Handpicked me. I don't know how, why, but. And so myself and my co-temple president, his name is, now he's Ananda Tirtha Maharaj. You may know him, he's Croatian. Disciple of His Holiness Bhakti Vikas Swami. Very amazing Vaishnav. Very strict sadhana. He is like Haridas Thakur. He's unshakable in his sadhana. Ananda Tirtha Maharaj. Philosophically, he's very astute. He knows the philosophy like anything. And at the same time, he's a very personable person. Very loving. So he was in LA. I was in Cape Town. Somehow, Bhadranarayan Prabhu decided to make this unlikely alliance work, and we ended up serving together in San Diego. It's called Temple President. I won't bore you with all the details, but it took a lot of hard work, many years of hard work, and we did under his leadership. We did a lot of things. Some of the pictures are not here because, anyway, I didn't have enough time, as you saw, to put this together. So over the course of our management in San Diego, what we did is we turned things around. We tried to increase book distribution, especially the preaching. And he was Mahat Tattva back then. His name is Ananda Tirtha Maharaj. He started what you know today as the Shastra Dan. Shastra Dan, where you buy books and you give books gifts to different people. That's his baby. He started all that. It's a very popular way of distributing books because most people don't want to go on the street, so they do this. We started a newspaper called 16 Rounds of Samadhi, which became a big hit. It was published, distributed all over San Diego, Los Angeles, Washington, and in some places in Europe as well. Ambarish Prabhu was a patron. He supported, helped with the publication of the book. And what was in the 16 round, that was the name of the newspaper. You can still go on Google and type it, and you can still see the remnants of it. I mean, after we left, and uh, it it went on for a while, but it went dormant. But in its time, it was very popular, and it was a preaching tool that was meant to familiarize with American people with Krishna consciousness, because we understood, because both we are foreigners. In he's from Croatia, I'm African, and so we we felt that we needed to reach out to American people, and preach to them as Prabhupada had wanted. And so we did that, and 16 rounds of Samadhi was like that, and we had a whole strategy. We went street by street in San Diego, for instance, shop by shop, when we started, distributed this book, introduced ourselves, introduced the newspaper. It was a proper newspaper, like a newspaper, old school fashioned newspaper like that, with stories of Krishna consciousness and things like that. And Maharaj started a YouTube channel, YouTube TV production. You can go on his channel. I don't know if it's still there, where he would make movies preaching Krishna consciousness in in a relevant American way. And then on top of that, also we started the Krishna House, which is like we Bhajanaran Prabhu, because I'm speaking like this because this was all possible because we had leadership of Bhajanaran Prabhu's stature. Bought the house next door and turned that house into a preaching center, where we renovated the whole thing. We called it the Krishna House, and we went out on the streets inviting the people. And I think it's still active now. If you go on YouTube or Google it, you'll still see it's still going on, even after like what, almost 20 years later. And it's the focus was specifically to the American people, because they have their own cultures. People say Americans don't have a culture, but it's not true. Americans have their own culture. It's just that because it's different from yours doesn't mean it's not culture. Because I hear devotees sometimes sit on the Vyasa-san and criticize Americans, but then it's okay, but then criticize other people's culture because you don't understand it. So anyway, so yeah, and then we made a lot of devotees actually. Many of the brahmacharis that you see here came from that preaching program. We spoke Krishna consciousness, specifically Bhagavad Gita, in a way that Americans could understand. And on top of that, what I also did is I established a satellite of the Bhaktivedanta College of Education, BCEC. I was a member of the college back then, under the auspicious leaderships of His Holiness Bhakti Chaitanya Swami and His Holiness Bhakti Brihad Bhagavad Swami. He was a Mahamantra back then. He wasn't a Swami. So when I moved, because I was teaching in South Africa, and when I moved to the US, I started a satellite, and I have over 200 Bhakti Shastri graduates from that time alone, probably more than 250, but over 200, just generously. Bhakti Shastri, Bhakti Bhai Baba, and His Holiness Bhadanaran Maharaj is a graduate of the Bhakti Shastri, because when he was going to take Bhakti Shastri, sannyas, he needed Bhakti Shastri. He didn't have a Bhakti Shastri, and so I helped him get his Bhakti Shastri. His Holiness Ananda Tirtha Maharaj, I have pictures of it, I don't have it here, of him also. He did the same thing. He got his Bhakti Shastri through me. There's a picture I gave him. He was a brahmachari back then, and he also needed Bhakti Shastri to do his sannyas, Bhakti Vaibhav as well. Helped him with that. There's pictures of me giving him a certificate at the Sunday program. So I have a lot of senior devotees that have graduated from this Bhakti Shastri and Bhakti Vaibhav. So I've been doing this for a long time. I've been doing this for a very long time. I'm not new at this. So these are most of these devotees. Initially, you'll see them on Facebook. This guy now, this devotee now, he's a model. He's a Latina, very nice person. Initiated now. He's a big model. His name is Ryan. He's initiated now also. is big on social media. All these people here, these are my students. And this here over here on the corner here, this was every Friday with Harinam Badrinaran Prabhu at the time. He would come every Friday evening, he would come. And we wouldn't just stand in one place. We would go all over the city, all over San Diego. And you can see how it is. It shows the diversity of the people. These were American people. Only few people here were foreigners. Myself, you can see I'm there in the front, and a few other people. But everybody here is Americans. You can see there's an African American there. There's like 3 American people there. So we really try to do our best. And also you can see with the graduates here at the bottom one, all of them are Americans. Right? And this is what Prabhupada wanted. All because we had the leadership of somebody like His Holiness Badrinarayan Maharaj. Right? And this is one of the pictures of I don't know what this was. This was a Bhakti Sastri, Brahmachari, Brahmachari class, whatever. Yeah, I was a little thick back then. So this is what they writing exam. This is my good friend Andrew Angel. You can see him now. He's on social media, is on Facebook now. He's a big person now. Actually, he left Krishna consciousness. Externally, he left, but he's a big minister in I don't know if it's the Catholic Church, but he's like one of those big priests where and thousands of people appear. He appears and all this. So he's a big guy in the Catholic Church in America with his robes and stuff. And we still keep in touch though. We speak like very, very often. He asks questions and how to maneuver these things. So even though he's not directly practicing Krishna consciousness now, we have a plant in the Catholic Church. This is Prabhupada's mission. Please don't bother him too much on Facebook, because in his Facebook page and his social media, you won't see any Krishna conscious stuff. But we really, and this gentleman here, and I say this respectively. I'm not saying this to, I'm just saying this respectively. This is Carl. He's initiated now. I don't know. I forgot his name. He was initiated after I left. So this is one of the Bhakti Sastri classes. Now this devotee here, he's gay, and he's gay. He's as gay as you get. In other words, he's homosexual. And he's one of the many that were in my class over the years, and he graduated. And one of the things that I try to do is give a sense of human dignity to people. People sometimes, we tend to judge others very, very quickly and very harshly, forgetting that people are human beings. Now he's very active, actually. He's a big part of the San Diego temple. And like I said, he has his partner. He's married to another man, which is a big thing now, for some people. Raj! It was happening even then, when they were graduating, the husband also came, and, and I was under heavy attack. What is this? I'm a human being. I know what it's like to be treated as a third-class citizen. And so I'm not going to treat anybody as a third-class citizen. That's not going to happen, irrespective of how you feel about them or how you interpret the Shastra. And of course, this is my worshipable, I say my because I'm very, very, very attached to these deities. These are Shishi, Radha, Giridhari. So we have 3 deities there, Shishi, Radha, Giridhari, Jagannath, Baladev, Subhadra, and Gaurnitai. And for a time, I was also head pujari there when we were looking for a head pujari. And so this is some of the things that he inspired, because he gave me the freedom to do a lot of the stuff that I'm speaking to you about. I may seem like I'm boasting, but what I'm doing is I'm channeling the glory to His Holiness, because he made this possible. I can tell you can see in these sessions that before we bought the house next door, I was having programs, my classes in the temple room itself. This is the temple room here. That's the temple room. That's the temple room in San Diego. That's Prabhupada right there. I don't know if you can see them. And I was getting a lot of criticism. How can you? Because I was doing 2 classes, right? One class was for the devotees, Bhakti Shastra and Bhakti Vaibhav. On the other hand, I was doing class for the local San Diego people. I was teaching karma, reincarnation, what are the Vedas, Ayurveda. I mean, I'm a certified Ayurvedic practitioner, and so I would take little things like that and connect them to Krishna consciousness. And so my classes were a big hit in San Diego. I mean, in California, let me just say not the whole of California, but I would say in Southern California, like your San Diego, your Laguna Beach, your Los Angeles. Those places were big. I had people coming on weekends, driving all the way from Los Angeles, which is like a 2-hour drive, just to attend classes on karma and reincarnation and stuff like this. I got featured on one of San Diego's magazine base. I forgot what it's called now. City Bars or some city something about these programs. Uh, so everything is possible if we use our intelligence and remember that we have a goal. Our spiritual master has given us a mission to okay, yeah, to continue. And so now this is like recent stuff that you see here. This is so I also, as part of my preaching strategy, I run anyway, it was given to me. It was, I won't bore you with the details. I inherited this, and I decided to make it into something worthwhile. So this is like a registered non-profit organization. It's fully approved by the GBC and all of that stuff. So when I inherited it, I shifted things a little bit. Technically speaking, it's run by the GBCs. The GBCs, because I changed the memorandum of understanding to make sure that it's fully aligned with ISKCON, because I don't want to do anything that is outside of ISKCON. So what I did is we changed a few things there, and we made the GBC the final authority when it comes to appointing directors or removing directors. So even though I'm responsible externally for the running of this organization, but it's run by the GBC, strictly speaking. So what I did is I turned this into what I call a social arm for ISKCON, right? We know we have Food for Life, where we go out, we distribute books, we do harinams. So that's also a part of ISKCON arm, one arm of ISKCON. So this one is another arm of ISKCON. It's a social arm, just like you also have the intellectual arm of ISKCON, which is the Bhaktivedanta Institute, and so many others. You have different types of arms like that. So this, I decided to make it as an arm for the mission in on the continent, of course, starting out in South Africa. And the idea was that, realistically speaking, if we really want to have the type of success that we really want, we need to acknowledge a few things. And one of the things that we need to acknowledge is that this is Africa. We are in Africa. This is not Europe. This is not America. This is not Mauritius. Well, Mauritius, it's Africa, but actually Mauritius, let's leave Mauritius out. This is not India. This is not Bangalore. This is not Russia. This is Africa. And so my sense, I mean, I've had these discussions with a lot of our GBC. Again, it's not a secret that you cannot import the things that work in one country and expect them to work in another country. They may work somehow, but not completely. I mean, an example of this is Bhakti Tita Maharaj, who, after his departure, there's nobody else has ever been able to achieve that level of success. Nobody. I challenge you to show me one senior devotee or one preacher that came after Bhakti Tita Swami that had the same type of output that he did. Nobody has. Because he had the ability to read the room. He understood when he came to the continent. I mean, there's difficulties, we know. I mean, whenever I travel on the continent, they say, it's difficult. It's not easy. It's a challenge, right? He knew that. It's not an excuse. We took birth here. We made the decision to take birth here. So we cannot complain about the challenges and the difficulties of preaching on this continent, right? This body is a symptom of the consciousness that we had in our previous lives. That's what Bhagavad Gita, teaches. I can say this very pretty freely without being labeled a racist or whatever. So we have a responsibility, therefore, like Prabhupada would tell the Americans that you come from an amazing country like this, but what's the use of you being Americans if you can't do anything for Krishna? So the same thing applies to us. So anyway, so the social arm basically is to recognize that the cultural setup in Africa and the hierarchy is a little different. So if you really want to if you really want to reach places where you want to reach, we need to adjust things a little differently. I'm not talking changing the philosophy and changing things. I'm talking about changing or adjusting a few preaching things. And as you can see here, these are some of the results. Everywhere you go, everywhere. I mean, now I have the organization. We have branches pretty much across the country. We have branches in Cape Town, pretty much across Cape Town, and colored communities, African communities, Indian communities. We have branches there. And as you know, here it's this one that you see on the far right. This is in the Eastern Cape. We have a branch there. And as you can see, most of the people that are attending are white South Africans. They're very happy. So I present to them in one way. And as you can see, I'm wearing, I'm not wearing any dhoti, and it works. Here, I mean, this is all over. And we also do Food for Life. So this is after one program. This is an older picture, so the resolution is not go. So after a program, we set up a book stand outside. So when people come out from the hall after I give the presentation, they walk straight into the books, and you can imagine they buy books like anything. So you can see everybody, and you can see most of the people here are Africans, right? That's me there chanting. This is at the University of the Free State. In this picture, I was invited by my good friend Rupa Nuga Prabhu to go and help him do what I'm doing here. And so I started the university program there. So anyway, all of this is in glorification of the leadership of His Holiness Bhadri Narayan Maharaj. He is one of the person that I know he was a controversial figure. He was very honest, brutally honest sometimes, that devotees were scared of him. That's just the truth. Some devotees were scared of him because he was very, very honest. But we were very good friends. We had our own ups and downs, but one thing is that he was good leadership. He protected those that worked under him. And I can safely say, when I was co-temple president in my time with him, he sheltered us as temple president. There were many times when people came, I told you there were criticism about why am I conducting classes to karmis in the temple room, and sometimes there would be clashes. I remember on one occasion, some miscommunication happened. I had a class that was happening and the devotees were writing an exam, and somebody else had organized a different program, a big program, and we had to share the same temple room. And so we had a big problem, like whose program is going to be cancelled. And the debate was, you only have like about what, I don't know, at that time was like 25 students in that class, maybe 30, whereas like 200 devotees are coming for this program. You should, and I had already set up tables by that time, and devotees were arriving. Other devotees were arriving for the other program. So, I was on one hand, my temple president was on the other hand. So we worked together, but anyway, this is an example of like conflict resolution when management is like clashing. So we called him, and guess what he did? He canceled the big program. 200 people had to go home, and 25 to 30 people had to continue with the class. And why? Why? Because that was my program. It was like schedule was already there. I was already doing it for weeks already. So they just couldn't kick me out. So he made a difficult decision that is very difficult for many leaders to do. Most leaders would have probably taken the easy route out. Raj, you have fewer devotees here, or fewer people, so postpone your class. But he didn't do that. He took the other side. There's many stories like that that I can share about him. And I mean, he was very, very attached to Shishi Radha Giridhari. He joined ISKCON when he was 17 years old. He left the planet when he was 73 years old. And his whole life was dedicated to the mission of his spiritual master. He knew nothing but Prabhupada. He knew nothing but Shishi Radha Giridhari. And I'm confident that, in his last moments, their lordships and Srila Prabhupada himself were there to take him. But he was very, very attached to the deities. And one story that I'll end with that he used to tell quite often, he was a very humorous person, very, very humorous person, but very, very direct. If you think I'm direct and you haven't met His Holiness Badunora, he's very, very direct, sometimes brutally direct. He was brutally direct that, some people would feel hurt. But anyway, there's a story, and the thing with our deities in San Diego, the deity worship was proper, was high standard, because every once in a while he would come, he would do service himself, but every once in a while he would come, inspect the pujari room, inspect the deities, inspect everything, because he expected the highest quality. Because that's what you would expect if you are protecting management from, bullying or whatever by the big guys. They should also play their part. And so we had to do that. And so anyway, I'll end with this story. He told the story that when the deities, the San Diego Yatra was starting, Prabhupada was, I don't know, when the San Diego Yatra was starting, he was sent to India. He went there for the GBC meetings. He was still young, maybe in his 20s or whatever. And he was also tasked with buying ingredients for the inauguration of the deities, for the installation of the deities. So they made a list for him, a whole list of stuff to get. And so the meetings were very busy, the GBC meetings are very busy. And he was so busy that he forgot about the list. He realized only later that in the morning that he had to catch a flight he was in Vrindavan in Delhi. And he had to be there in a couple of hours, and he didn't have time to go and buy all the list of stuff that he had that the devotees had tasked him to do. And so he was feeling very bad, because when he arrived, they were going to do the installation with the stuff that he brought, but he didn't have them. And so as he was leaving, and this story is corroborated by Janani Prabhu, and as he was leaving to go to the airport, defeated, very sad that he was coming with bad news to the devotees, and he was organizing that the things can come after, maybe, be sent by ship or whatever. So as he was going to the car, Jananivas came rushing to him, gave him like some packages, like 3 or 4 packages, and he said, "This is for the deities." So he took them with them. And when he arrived in San Diego, when they opened the 3 packages, they found that every single thing that was there on the list was in the packages. So you can see that Krishna does things. It's not that Krishna depends on anybody. If he wants something to be done, he'll do it, whether with us or without us. Oh, I'll end with this. I'm not ashamed to share this story, and then we can start with the Bhakti Sastri, where at the time we were looking for a head pujari. I was serving as a head pujari, acting head pujari, and so it was my job to make sure that I didn't get any sauce, as we used to call it, hot sauce from Badrinarayan Maharaj. And so my standard was very, very high. The pujaris, some of them call me a slave driver. So the standard had to be very high. It had to be kept very high. Everything, Maha cleanup of the altar every month. Everything. The whole deity setup. Maha cleanup. Maha cleanup means you take everything out and then you clean. You put them back. The temple room, every nook and cranny, the ceiling and everything had to be cleaned. And so we kept everything as clean as possible. And I remember one day somebody put the DDs to rest, and I went to bed. And I remember having this dream, like light. Like I said again, I'm not ashamed to tell this story. So the lights were flickering, and I'm dreaming the lights are flickering and they're disturbing my eyes. And I'm hearing this voice: "You won't sleep until I sleep. You won't sleep until I sleep." So I wake up, and it's dark in the room, as you can imagine from a dream, and my eyes are still flashing with that bright light that was there in the dream. And so something told me, just go to the DT area and see if everything is okay there. So I didn't take a shower. I just went down there, and lo and behold, somebody left the altar and the pujari area lights on. And to turn them off, you had to go into the pujari room. And to go into the pujari room, you had to be suchi. So I had to go and take a shower, go and just turn the lights off, and then go back to bed. Anyway, so that's the little short remembrance of His Holiness Badunarayan Maharaj, and I'm grateful to have met such a illustrious Vaishnava and illustrious leader. Was very, very personable, who also embodied Srila Prabhupada's mood and was really an ISKCON man, a Prabhupada's man. So farewell, Maharaj, my friend, my mentor. Till we meet again. Hare Krishna. All right, so anybody would like to summarize, maybe Bhakta Onyago, is he here? You summarize again. I know you did this last week. Summarize chapter 8. Okay. Raghupati, you want to do it? All right, so then we'll just continue. So in the end of chapter 7, Krishna introduced the last two verses. He introduced a few terms: Brahman, Adhyatma, Karma, Adbhut, Adidaiva, and Adiyagya. And chapter 8 begins, of course, with Arjuna asking for clarification for these 8 questions. So what is Brahman, what is Atma? And Krishna answers that. So we've gone through that. And we also, where's my Gita? All right, I'll get this. And we also, I think we finished off chapters text 5 to 9, which answers Arjuna's last question. So Arjuna asked what is to be remembered at the time of death. And in text number 5, Krishna says, whoever at the end of his life quits his body, remembering me alone, at once attains my nature. Of this there is no doubt. Whatever state of being one remembers when he quits his body, O son of Kunti, that state one will attain without fail. But what should one remember? And Krishna says, therefore, because you should remember something at the end of life, therefore the best thing to remember is Krishna, is me. Therefore, Arjuna, you should always think of me in the form of Krishna, and at the same time, carry out your prescribed duty of fighting with your activities dedicated to me, and your mind and intelligence fixed on me, you will attain me without doubt. So Krishna is making it very, very clear in this text, and text number 8, how he is that object of meditation. And I mentioned previously, who is Krishna? Krishna is a person, and Krishna's qualities of a person. We've heard about these 64 qualities of Krishna. I've given, last year, I gave a presentation. I have a friend who is a lecturer at University of South Africa. She's in the linguistic department. So she's a big academic there. And so she invited me to come and do a presentation to the academics and the students there. And so he asked me what would be the best way to present Krishna consciousness. Well, she just left it in my court. The best way to present Krishna consciousness to the academics. And these are academic people, these are intelligent people. So there's no question of me trying to, out intellectual them. And so, and many of them, many of them are like, it's diversity, some of them are, Africans and Europeans and stuff. So I decided, I was praying on it, and present Krishna consciousness, how would I present it to these academics? So I decided to take a little different route. And this route was to directly present Krishna. Who is Krishna? And what is bhakti? And so the tactic that I used, that because I also wanted to make them feel important, so I read some of their research and put some of the stuff that they were writing, and so I put it together so they could relate. And so the presentation was personhood in bhakti. Personhood in bhakti. So, and this is one of the reasons why you hear me every time in the class, I emphasize on this point, that it's not just about defeating impersonalism, but it is also about establishing Krishna as a person. And we cannot just assume that, you can just assume from defeating impersonalism that you establish personalism. It's just an assumption. So what I did there was, because from person, so many things come: culture, thinking, every psychology, all these things. So I started with that basic thing: what is a person? And this is a question in Western philosophy, in Western psychology. What is a person? And I think I've given aspect of this in both your countries, both in Lagos and in Nigeria and in Ghana. I've given glimpses of this, of how there's different types of personhood in terms of Western academia or Western scholarship. Person, for instance, is defined in biology in one way. An animal that walks 2 legs and uses their hands for, their heads. They use their hands to solve problems and stuff. That's a definition of a person in biology. There's a definition of person in physics. There's a definition of person in psychology. Some say it's what you think. And then the brain and the mind are the same. It's a whole thing there.
Your volume is going down.
My volume is going down.
Your volume is going down. Hare Krishna.
Thank you for the feedback. Yeah, I'm trying these I think I'm having some technical issues over here. This computer has a mind of its own, so I don't know if you can see, but
Yeah, we can see everything.
yeah, you can see I use the keyboard to try and increase the volume because the external keyboard doesn't work, and somehow you see it's stuck. So you have to bear with me for a little bit. We'll take a little break shortly, and then I'll try and resolve this issue.
Okay.
Yeah. So anyway, yeah, and then you have in legal terms what is a person, and a person, in like for instance, governments defined a person as an entity that can have transactions with the government. So if you don't have an ID, you don't have a passport, you can't interact or transact with the government and with other people. So therefore you are persona non grata. You're not a person. So that's one way of looking at a person. So there's many different ways of looking at a person. So after just giving them all these different broad views of what a person is, and I drew it and then I brought it to person in Vedic terms, just generally speaking. And in Vedic terms, this is explained also. This is a beautiful term. I mean, the Purusha, the universal. Prabhupada speaks about that in the Shrimad Bhagavatam, and also in the previous chapter of the Bhagavad Gita that we studied. Prabhupada speaks about the Purusha. So this universal person, it's described in the Purusha Shukta, for instance, that glorifies this person. The Rig Veda, for instance, also speaks about many of the Veda, not just the Rig Veda, the other Vedas as well. They speak about this Purusha. Who's this person? Purusha means person, literally. Purusha means person. And so, what is this person? So then I went into the different understanding of what this Purusha is from the Sankarites and from the other different sides. And eventually, then I brought it back to personhood in Bhakti. Right? And I defined what is Bhakti, and then I defined what is a person, and that Krishna is a person. And Krishna as a person means that he has likes and dislikes. Krishna has certain qualities. For instance, the 26 qualities, of the devotees that.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, your local breaks is here.
Hey, Ragu Party, please mute.
Okay. Anyway, so that was the idea, and then to establish Krishna as a person, and to make the argument that to actually be a person, one has to be a devotee. So the 26 qualities of a devotee is what qualifies a person to become a human being. So although we say these are the 26 qualities of a devotee, but these are 26 qualities of a person because they are derived from the 64 qualities of a supreme person. So I make the whole argument. So anyway, let's take a break. It's now 12:36. We'll be back at 12:46. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Go on your break now, your break time, please, devotees. Thank you very much for trying to comply. Please, let's keep it all up like this. Please, only few people are also still stealing showing. Sometimes I have something very immediate to do. You face the ceiling. Use your camera to face the ceiling. So it's not easy, but we have to practice it so that we get used to it. Let us be present. If we say we are present, we are attending class, just like Balabadra and Oyeka Jehovah God, Oyeka God Jehovah, Purushotama Yatra, Ragupati, Prana Prayer. When we say we are attending class, let us attend the class. Let's be there. Understand? Let's be there. so that the facilitator will be happy.
Hare
You don't want
Krishna.
to, you should not act in a way to provoke, you know. And this is a warning because bigger people are coming also. It's only Bhattidra Damodara Maharaj. Okay, he has already come. Okay, it's only Bhakti Chaudhry Maharaj will come also, and His Grace Kavikanapura will come also. So let us conduct ourselves. Then finally, His Grace River, that's Vanachari, is going to take nectar of devotion. So let us just keep this one as a standard, please. Thank you very much. Go for your break, oh. Me, I don't go with that, oh. I dey cook, so I
Don't
don't.
go, don't go, don't
I'm
go.
going to cook rice and beans. So I'm going. I'll be cooking. If you see
I'm
me
looking for my
leaving, I go back again.
The grammar will get as a view.
Hare Krishna.
Aribo,
Prabhu, please. I'm not feeling well, so they are giving me
who is
my
that?
drugs.
Hare Krishna Prabhu, don't ever pronounce. Talk.
I say,
Yes, I will be coming. Okay.
Mami Bakuba.
Projection need to be, but it's in the is I don't know. I think it should be in the office there, Ministry of Education office. Inside the cup of Purushottam Yatra has the key. So no.
who's on the
Ministry of Education. Yes. Inside that small water to the left. Yes. Okay. Yeah, it will give. But himself will be there also. So Purushottam Yatra will be there. Purushottam Yatra. Haribansi Prabhu wants to use the projector. Projector is inside the office and inside that small shelf where the books are on top. The projector is there in a black container. You can bring it out and give to maybe Surya Narayan Prabhu so that when he comes, he will.
Which of the office?
Our office now, me and you, our office.
The one I have there.
Yes, the one you
The
have
one
the
I
key.
have there.
Yes. Hare Krishna. You know, the offices are many, so which one of the offices?
Make I look for my dictionary because when the grammar is coming, I have to look for the meaning of the grammar for me to understand. Hare Krishna.
This is the opportunity for you to go do those things that used to make you off your video. Sharp, sharp. Go and do it fast and come. Oh. One of them is to go and wee. One of them is to go and drink water. One of them is to go and make a phone call. Sharp, sharp. Please do it now. You have only 2 minutes left to. Bala Baba. Bala Baba of Africa.
I think say they use Pasara for one side there, Babuji.
I dey cook. Oh. I dey cook.
Because when you go this the go here. Now Prasada
Hare
they use
Krishna.
Oh, yeah,
I got
Bro, please, I'm not feeling well, so I'm on my drugs. I'm on my medication.
mm-hmm. So
So
just manage now.
So-
It remains only, it's less than 1 hour remaining. And this will just purify you by force. Understand? Otherwise, you go and lie down. The sickness will just cover you and overwhelm you. Understand? After all, you are not this body now. After all, this is opportunity to practice tolerance.
Babu, also, I think you have to send hand out the handbook, the Bhakti Sastri handbook again. No. I've lost my own.
Okay. I will forward it. I will forward it to the group, and I will forward it to you.
With the memorization verses also.
Okay. It's on page 13 or so. Okay, no, let me not speculate. I will forward it to you.
Thank you very much.
My president is very nice. So I didn't know that you come out so. Rice
only
and
your
beans
ear
together.
when you
Rice
are
and beans.
eating it, we only see your ear.
Please join me for this prasadam.
We don't see them now. We go don't carry spoon now. We don't see the Prasada. But we dey see your ear when you are bending. I don't see the
See
Prasada.
now. See now.
Rice and juice.
Oh,
Yes.
it came out very nice. Everything I could. The pepper, the salt, the beans done well. I'm a great cook.
Babu don't come back.
Oh boy. Okay, so the next section that we discussing is the Yoga Mishra Bhakti, which is 10 to 13. Can somebody read that?
Hare Krishna, I'm reading now.
Yes, please go ahead, Prabhu.
One who, at the time of death, fixes his life between the eyebrows and by the strength of yoga with an undeviated mind, engages himself in remembering the Supreme Lord in full devotion, will certainly attain to the Supreme Personality of God. Text 11. Persons who are learned in the Vedas, who utter Omkara, and who are great sages in the renounced order, entered into Brahma. Desiring such perfection, one practices celibacy. I shall now briefly explain to you this process by which one may attain salvation. Text 12. The yogic situation is that of detachment from all sensual engagement, closing all the doors of the senses and fixing the mind on the heart and the life air at the top of the head. One establishes himself in yoga. Text 13.
Oh, go ahead.
Text 13. After being situated in this yoga practice and vibrating the sacred syllable Om, the supreme combination of letters, if one thinks of the Supreme Personality of Godhead and quit his body, he will certainly reach the spiritual planet. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. So this is the section that describes or discusses the Yoga Mishra Bhakta. So this is somebody who is attached to the yoga process.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu.
Yes.
Please, there is a word in the translation of text 11.
Okay.
The persons who are learned in the Vedas, who utter Omkara, and who are great sages in the renounced order, enter into Brahma. Desiring such perfection, one practices celibacy. I shall now, this word is I don't understand. I just said what I think I should say briefly, or BRIEAY.
I shall now briefly. Briefly?
That is BRIEAY.
Briefly, which means I will tell you very shortly.
Please, do you have exact word briefly on your book? Because in my book, it's not briefly.
Oh, in your what does it say in your book?
It says, I don't. The spelling is BRIEAY.
BRIEAY.
Yeah.
So it must be a typo.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a typo. It's a mistake. If BRIY.
BRIEAY.
BRIEAY. Yeah, no, it's a typo. What? Let me see. Hold up the version of the Gita that you're holding. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, it's a typo. Can you do me a favor? Because one of my Shiksha gurus is Dravida Prabhu, who is the BBT editor, and I was.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Yes.
It's briefly on my own Bhagavad Gita.
Yeah, in my own it also says briefly.
Yeah, it's briefly. So this one is a typographical error.
Yes.
And on my own, it goes with Purushottama Yatra. The spelling of BRIEAY.
Are you speaking about the same thing he's speaking? Because I'm lost here.
Yes, please, Prabhu.
Okay. Yeah, so it's a typo, Prabhu. It's a typo. It means briefly. Briefly, it should be. So in this section here, Krishna speaks about the Yoga Mishra Bhakta, somebody who's still attached to the yoga process. Now, in the previous verses, Krishna has spoken about this unwavering concentration on the mind, right? He says in text number 9, one should meditate upon the Supreme Person as one who knows everything. So he gives all of this process of meditating on Krishna. And it's very difficult, right? To actually meditate on these things is very difficult. And how do you meditate? Maybe the question may be, how do you meditate on these things? You know, you're the controller and all of these. And then Krishna describes that those that are smart or those that are learned in the Vedas, then they perform this yoga system, right? So unwavering concentration of the mind mentioned in the previous verse is very difficult to achieve unless one practices yoga. So Yoga Mishra Bhakti is therefore described in the next 5 verses. So the next 5 verses, they describe these verses that you see there, 7 to 13, they describe Yoga Mishra Bhakti. And in the purport there, Srila Prabhupada describes about the what is called Agya Chakra, well, this process of yoga. And we know the process of yoga, the ultimate goal is to raise the, Prabhupada writes here, for those practiced in yoga, it is recommended that they raise the life air, the life force between the eyebrows to the Agya Chakra. The Agya Chakra is one at the top. And then he goes on to mention the Sat Chakra Yoga, which means 6 chakras, sometimes is Ashta Chakra, which means Ashtanga Yoga. And then Prabhupada emphasizes an important word there, the word Yoga Bhalena. So it's not that we can't, we can be really loose in our practice of Krishna consciousness, not chanting our rounds, not reading, not keeping constant association of devotees and devotional things. And then we should not expect at the time of death that we will remember Krishna. It comes with practice. Remember in the 6th chapter, Krishna describes the way to control the mind. The mind is very troublesome. The mind is flickering like the wind, Arjuna says. Controlling the mind is more difficult than controlling the wind. How is it possible to control the mind, Krishna says. Arjuna says. And then Krishna responds by, it is possible by 2 ways, by 2 things. Practice of yoga, in other words, controlling the senses means the practice of yoga. Even in Krishna consciousness, the essential ingredient in the control, Vacha Vegam, Manasakroda Vegam, Jiva Vegam, Udarapasta Vegam. You know that verse from the Nectar of Instruction, right? Srila Rupa Goswami describes about the need of controlling the senses. And of all this, the urges of the mind are very difficult to control, right? So controlling the mind means the practice of yoga. It is synonymous. I wanted to say something. I lost my train of thought now. So anyway, so one can't not practice Krishna consciousness, not following your vows, and then expect to remember Krishna at the time of death. We need to practice. Just as like previously I gave the example, if you go to school and you don't attend classes, then you're unlikely to pass. Some people may pass because due to their previous life's pious activities, they've able to to get that intelligence that they don't have to really work hard. But most of us, we have to work. So we are sadhakas. We have to practice. And so it's not that, just because I'm a Hare Krishna at the time of death, I will remember Krishna. We have to mold our minds like that. Prabhupada makes this very clear in the purport there. One cannot come to this transcendental state at the time of death. One cannot suddenly remember the Supreme Lord at death. One must have practiced some yoga system especially the system of Bhakti Yoga. Since one's mind at the time at death is very disturbed, one should practice transcendence through yoga during one's life. And I've noticed that, especially in Ghana, it seems you attend a lot of funerals. Every weekend, there's like half of you are attending funerals. So the question also is, are you learning something from it? Or are you just going there to take prasadam? Or are you learning something from it? Because, one thing is that if you do things over regularly, it's just like, I remember one of my friends left their body, and I was a devotee, right? He died in a car accident during Rath Yatra. And so I got the call, and by the time I got to where the accident was, they had already moved the car and the body. And Rath Yatra is going, I was a management team there in ISKCON Lenasia. We have beautiful Gaunitai deities there. So we had organized this Rath Yatra, everything was going well. Prabhuji went to go get milk. And it was hard. He fell asleep while driving, the car rolled, he died. And so when I got a phone call, when I got to where the accident was, he was already moved. He already moved to the mortuary and the car. In South Africa, they don't want to see dead bodies on the side of the road. It makes people think of death. So they'll remove it as quickly as possible. They keep all the, they send people to analyze your forensic, whatever, and they move it. And so we were given and me and another devotee, the place of the mortuary where the devotee was. So we went. And I can tell you, I think I've seen death quite a bit. And I'd seen dead bodies, I'd attended funerals. So I was confident that it's okay, the mortuary. So when we went there, we walked in. I'll never forget that experience. And I was chanting, remember, right? So we walk in there, and we meet this guy at the, I don't know, reception or whatever, and we tell him, he walks us in. And he walks us in to a fridge. And in the fridge, there's dead bodies. I was shocked. I'd seen dead bodies, but I was shocked. I'd never seen bodies lined up like that. It's a fridge, it's cold in there. Everything is steel, clean, stainless steel. I was shocked. I remember just like the shock in my face, looking around the room, dead bodies everywhere. And the guy looked at me and he said, that one just arrived this morning, 340 car accident. That one got shot. And, your friend just arrived like 10 minutes ago. It was jolting, the experience. And then, they pulled him out. And then I asked him, I said, God, I'm shocked. I sit on the Vyasa and I speak about death and we should overcome death. And here I am in a mortuary, shocked like anything. And I was just, and then he looks at me and he says, because I was asking, how can you deal with death? Because he'd been doing it for many, many years, and dead bodies. And he said, after a while, you become jaded. After a while, you become jaded. It's just another dead body. So that can also happen. You attend all these funerals, but you're not getting edification from it, but only the sense gratification part of it. Or at least I've been in the temple 7 days, at least I'll get like a couple of hours to go out, take a little breather, dance or whatever your reasons are, right? So we should be careful that we don't turn what is supposed to be service into sense gratification. All right, so this is the description, of course, of the Yoga Mishra Bhakta. We've read a little bit of the purport to that, what Prabhupada says. And then in text number 11, Prabhupada says there that this practice is very essential for the student's advancement in spiritual life. But at the moment, such brahmachari, unmarried celibate life is not at all possible. The social construction of the world has changed so much that there is no possibility of one's practicing celibacy from the beginning of student life. Throughout the world, there are many institutions for different departments of knowledge, but there is no recognized institution where students can be educated in the brahmachari principle. Unless one practices celibacy, advancement in spiritual life is very difficult. Therefore, Lord Chaitanya has renounced, according to the scriptural injunctions for this age of Kali. Right? So celibacy is important. Celibacy is an important part. It's not just for brahmacharis, orange-clad brahmacharis of a sannyasi. Celibacy is for everybody because it has a very powerful effect. I mean, we all know the effect of celibacy, that the main ingredients, and for instance in men, the main ingredient in semen is the same molecular structure as the brain one. So if a man is able to resist spilling that golden liquid and rather uses it, transmits it all the way to the top of the head, it nourishes the brain. And from the nourishing of the brain, so many things happen. Somebody like of the caliber of Srila Bhakti Siddhanta, who doesn't forget anything. Somebody of the caliber of Srila Praladananda Swami, who is still amongst us, who can remember anything. He doesn't forget anything, Prahlada Maharaj. He reads something, he remembers it. One's brain becomes very powerful, and one's health also improves dramatically just by celibacy. And actually, this is one of the things that shocks many students when I tell them this. I use this example in universities mostly when I speak about the importance of celibacy. And yes, I bring it up at university. The one place where you'd least expect celibacy. I mean, we know university campuses are debauched, they are places of extreme sense gratification. So you speak about celibacy at university, it's like, what? I just spent 12 years in high school keeping celibacy. Now I'm in varsity. I need to enjoy myself. That's the mood. And I was in Kenya recently, and I also shared with them this, and everybody, some people almost fell off their chairs. And that when a man ejaculates, when a man releases that golden liquid, the energy that is created, you see what happens. Like if a dog, after, if you see a male dog, after it mates, what happens? Right? It just collapses, loses energy, it loses life because of the potency that just went from the body. So human beings are like that also. You see them, you hear them. It's like if you, after you do the deed, you just collapse. Energy is gone. And so the energy that's produced at that time that makes you so tired, that energy, some scientists have calculated it to be the equivalent of enough electricity to light up a small village. So the energy that you release during ejaculation is equivalent to the energy generated for a small village. So with that energy that you use so you ejaculate, you can light up a small village. So you can imagine how much energy we waste. And Prabhupada is describing it. It's very, very difficult. Why? Because in this age, everywhere you look, there's naked women everywhere, half naked women everywhere, social media everywhere, billboards everywhere, right? So Prabhupada is saying in this age, it's not possible to become a brahmachari. Okay, let me do this. Actually, I will read to you. I didn't plan on this, but I just started it. The 8 principles of brahmacharya, right? And so I can read to you what we mean by brahmachari, right? Sometimes we are very proud, I'm a brahmachari. But what does it really mean? All right, so I'm just going to read to you some. Okay, I found it. And you'll be happy. I'm just going to quote directly from Srila Prabhupada. So this is in the Srimad Bhagavatam 6th canto. And by the way, when I speak about celibacy, I also it applies to ladies also. So it's not I'm not just speaking to the males, I'm also speaking to the women. So Srimad Bhagavatam 6th canto, Brahmacharya, the life of celibacy has 8 aspects, right? One should not think of women, and if you're a woman, then not think of men. Speak about sex life, dally with women, look lustfully at women, talk intimately with women, or decide to engage in sexual intercourse. Nor should one endeavor for sex life or engage in sex life. One should not even think of women or look at them, to say nothing of talking with them. This is called first-class brahmacharya. Prabhupada in the purport says, to concentrate the mind, one must observe a life of celibacy and not fall down. One must undergo the austerity of voluntarily giving up sense enjoyment. One must then control the mind and senses, give charity, be truthful, clean, and non-violent. Okay, so on, and I'll just skip this stuff. So when we are speaking about celibacy, it's not just the color of the robe, it's the mindset. I described previously how Chaitanya Mahaprabhu sees brahmacharya both as an ashram but also as a spiritual position, brahmacharya, right, to be situated on the brahmacharya platform. So realistically, as Prabhupada is saying here, nobody can be a brahmachari. So we're all messy cases in this age. Who can say that they've never been agitated by throughout their lives, or brahmacharya life or whatever, and agitated by a picture or something or whatever, because it's there. So the idea, for the devotees is to fortify the mind by remembering Krishna. The solution is very simple, because nobody can. There's nobody that can come here and claim, I observe 100% brahmacharya. It'll be lies. It'll be a lie. Because this is Kali Yuga, and Prabhupada is saying himself here. Right? But what we do is we try our best. That's the thing. So, so Prabhupada says, the Lord, therefore, has announced, according to the scriptural injunctions, for this age of Kali, that in this age no process of realizing the Supreme is possible except the chanting of the holy names of Lord Krishna. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. And you know the verse, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Eva Kevala. There's no other way. There's no other way. The reason why we still have, that's the essence, really, the foundation of our practices. If we do that, if we're able to remember Krishna and practice seriously the sadhana, then brahmacharya becomes easy. Brahmacharya becomes easy. Just like Rupa Goswami says, Vacha Vegam, Manasa Krodha Vegam, when one is able to manage these things. And why is Rupa Goswami saying, one should be able to manage these urges, and then one becomes a Goswami? So, it means that the Goswamis are also experiencing problems. Otherwise, why is he a Goswami? Your Goswami was challenges with the senses. So Goswami means you're trying to get yourself together. This is the reality of the age of Kali, and Prabhupada is saying it clear in the purports there. And he's saying, we can't do it artificially. We can't do it artificially, especially if you're living in the city. You see, maybe it may be easier if you go into the forest like they used to do in the past. Now it's not possible. Brahmacharis go on book distribution. I mean, I remember we were doing distribution in Zambia. We traveled all the way from South Africa to Zambia for a full moon eclipse. We had one of the most ambitious temple president at the time when I was a young brahmachari. His name was Sikhi Mahiti Prabhu. He was Indian bodied, but he wanted, we went everywhere with him. We went everywhere. Zambia, Ghana. The only place that probably we didn't go to is West Africa because it was too far. So we went to this festival. It's called the what was it called now? The Full Moon Festival. It was one of the festivals where you have like a moon, like the blue moon, once every year, once every few years, 4, 5, 6 years. This is a special moon. So we traveled all the way from Cape Town to Zambia. I don't know if it was, yeah, I think, yeah, Lusaka. So we went to Zambia. You know, we went through Botswana and then Zimbabwe, and then we ended up in Zambia. And you know, we took our cars. We went through the Zambezi, through the you know, you can cross the Zambezi with your car. They have special ships there. So we went in there. We set up our main goal because they had expected about 100,000 people to come for this from all around the world. And the only place where you could actually see the moon perfectly was at that spot in Zambia. So that's why everybody went. So the devotee also went. We also went. And the goal was to distribute books, harinams, you know, all the regular preaching stuff. So we set up, we had a Govinda's restaurant there, we had a gift shop, and, you know, all these hippies, they have a lot of money, they buy stuff. So we made a lot of money from that financially. It was a big success financially. But it came at a cost, because we lost 2 devotees, 2 very stalwart brahmacharis there. They went with us to Zambia, they didn't come back with us. Why? Because if you've been to these types of festivals, you know, ladies walk there half naked, and men also, same thing. So if you're weak, you know, it's like they have in America, they have this Burning Man festival. It's a similar thing, you know, where people go there and they're scantily clad. It's a very similar thing, but on a huge scale, which means you can't escape it. And so we lost 2 devotees. They never came back to, they never went back to South Africa with us. It's not funny, but, and I was also tested. I was tested, right? So I had this one. I was at a book table distributing books, and somehow this devotee came, and he says, I just came back from. I mean, he came to introduce this Mataji. He was raving about you know, this and that. You know, she's amazing. So I was like. Some type of healing, you know, like some crystal healing and stuff. And for some reason, I went with another devotee to, she had because it's in the middle of nowhere, so you set up all these tents. So we went in there with this devotee because she told us that actually the treatment is done by her boyfriend, and the boyfriend was at the tent. So believing that the boyfriend was at the tent, and we wanted to also experience this little healing. So we went, these 2 devotees, we went there. And when we got there, we walked into the tent, and then she locked the tent. And she started to take her clothes off. And you never seen 2 brahmacharis run like that. We ran like Usain Bolt. And when we were leaving there, we were just toppling over each other. We were running. But we seen it. Because, you know, when she was undressing, she was like right by the door. I mean, it's a door. It's a tent. So you just unzip it and zip it closed, zip it open. We just pushed past it. So the point is, in this age of Kali, there's difficult. Somehow we managed it that time. We succeeded. But you can imagine the images after that. Just like with what was his name in the 7th canto? Ajamil. You know, Ajamil was a trained brahmachari, very strictly trained. But when he needed the training, he tried to remember the verses, it didn't come. Prabhupada explained the reasons why that happened, but it didn't come. And I remember also, you know, after the whole incident, I was, you know, the images would keep piling up in my head, you know, like that. So I had to spend a lot of time in kirtans, in chanting, you know, just to detox. And the point is, it's very difficult in this age of Kali. We just succeed because of the Lord's mercy. Prabhupada himself is saying this. Okay, let's read something here. Okay. Okay, I'm just going to read you, and then maybe we can end here. I'll read you from, this is the commentary by Srila Baladev Vidyabhushan. This is the text 12 to 13. One who leaves his body while withdrawing the senses from sense objects, concentrating the mind on me in the heart, fixing the prana at the Agya chakra, completely absorbing his thoughts in me, uttering Om and meditating on me, constantly attains my planet. So this is commentary by Baladev Vidyabhushan. This speaks of the method of yoga. One should control all the external doors of knowledge. The senses such as the ear, withdrawing them, pratyahara, from the sense objects such as sound, receiving the sense objects by senses disinterested in enjoyment, by repeatedly seeing their faults. But even in controlling the senses, the mind will wander. Therefore, concentrate the mind, the door to eternal knowledge, upon me. So this is Baladev Vidyabhushan paraphrasing Krishna there, or rephrasing it. Even though the mind usually remembers the sense objects, one should control the prana, the door to actions in the lotus of the heart. And one should gradually, as one gains control, establish it at the Agya chakra and finally at the top of the head. So this is the whole process as described by Baladev Vidyabhushan. But the reason why I'm reading this to you is to show you that Prabhupada's purport that we read on text number 12, it's the same. Prabhupada is saying the same thing. So you can see it, as I mentioned in the beginning, how Prabhupada is actually taking, his purports are taking from the purports of the previous acharyas. And for the yogis that practice this Sat Chakra Yoga, as it's just been described, for them, Krishna Manifesto, it says, actually, let me just read the Prabhupada's translation itself. After being situated in this yoga practice, and what is this yoga practice? Being the situation that of detachment from all sensual engagements. So after being situated in this yoga practice that is just being described, and also vibrating the syllable Om, the supreme combination of letters, if one thinks of the Supreme Personality of Godhead and quits his body, he will certainly reach the spiritual planets. So Prabhupada, it clearly states here that Om, Brahma, and Lord Krishna are not different. The impersonal sound of Krishna is Om, but the sound of Hare Krishna contains Om. You hear that? This is what is called a koan in Buddhism, something that contradicts itself and makes the mind go, what's going on here? So once one devotee asked me, I was preaching to somebody and he was taking to Krishna consciousness, and he was still a Buddhist. I mean, he was still a Buddhist. He was still attached to some Buddhist practices. So he was attending this 10-day silent meditation, Buddhist meditation in the forest, and he was beginning to chant, and he was feeling bad during one of the sessions. Was feeling bad that why do I have to sit here and meditate on nothing, basically, because that's what it is. But here at least you chant on Om, so your attention goes to Om. So he called me after the session and he said, Prabhu, how do I reconcile this silence? On one hand, we are supposed to be practicing silent meditation. On the other, I want to chant my rounds. So I found that that quote by Prabhupada, the conversation by Prabhupada, where Prabhupada is saying, chanting Hare Krishna is silence. So when you are chanting, you are actually silent. You are silent materially, but you are loud spiritually. And he was very happy. At least it gave him an excuse to chant Hare Krishna at the Buddhist meditation program. So what we'll do is, do we have any questions, comments about what we just described? So Krishna introduced those terms from the 6th, 7th chapter. He describes them to Arjuna. And then text number 7, text number 5, he describes how, remembrance is an important thing, because whatever one remembers at the time of death, one will attain that state without fail. And the best thing to remember is him as a supreme person, and he gives himself as the Purusha, the oldest, the controller, and so on and so on. And he says that anybody who does this, and at the time of death fixes the life air between their eyebrows, then they will attain Krishna. So even with this Yoga Mishra Bhakta, if one uses Krishna as the goal, then one will attain that goal of Krishna. And Krishna speaks about the importance that this type of practice, which includes celibacy, practicing celibacy. We have grihastha brahmacharis and so on. So brahmacharya is not just for orange people; it's for all Hare Krishna, including you, Pranapriya, everybody else, everybody. Celibacy is what he practices. So Prabhupada is making the importance of that, and then he also gives another aspect of the practice, which is chanting Omkar. And I learned when I was doing my yoga teacher training years ago that when you chant Om, it start out and then you close it. It's Om. Anyway, minor detail. It's not important. Okay, Balabhadra Prabhu. And then after that, after detaching oneself, practicing yoga, closing all the senses of the senses and all of that, Krishna says, if one thinks of me or the Supreme Personality of Godhead and quits his body, then definitely he will attain the spiritual planets. Balabhadra Prabhu, go ahead. Balabhadra?
Hare Krishna. Are you hearing me, Prabhuji? Hare Krishna.
Haribol.
Who can hear you?
Me? Hare Krishna. Prabhu, are you hearing me?
Yes, I can hear you. You can
We
ask your
can hear
question.
you, Prabhu.
Okay, the portion you read just now, that he won't vibrate home, and at the time of death, he won't also give about three alternatives. If one vibrate slabber home at the time of death, one can attain the supreme planet according to the text. That text we read.
Yes.
Another one that Krishna said that if you remember me alone at the time of death, one with his body, one attain his destination.
Yes.
And some other people said that said that if you want to remember his own spiritual name, like my name is Balabhadra, but one remember spiritual master, can such attain the spiritual planets?
Can you repeat the question? If one?
Sometimes a devotee at the time of death, you always talk about remember the spiritual master,
Oh,
and
I see.
the text also slabber home, and another area, Krishna said that remember me alone.
Yes.
And one of my god brothers said that if I remember my name alone, I will attain the same destination. They say my name is Balabhadra. So sometimes at the time of death, one remembers a spiritual name, or the spiritual master, or slabber home, or Christian say, which one is more better?
Thank you for that question, Balabhadra Prabhu. Much appreciated, because this is what we've been discussing, right? So I've been I've been bringing this over and over again, the point of analyzing and studying the Shastra and responding in terms of the Shastra. Now I'm going to take Balabhadra Prabhu's question. Let's see how much time we have. Oh, we don't have time. Okay. We have 2 minutes. So maybe somebody can come and, okay, no, maybe we'll take it up next week. But my response to this, Balabhadra Prabhu, is this. We have been studying in this Bhakti Sastri, not only from when I started, but from the beginning, when you did with other teachers, that one of the reasons of Shastric study, or the foundations of Shastric study, is Shastra itself, right? You have Shastra, Sadhu, and Guru. Those three criteria of measuring if something is truthful and if something is in line with our thinking. We check these three things. So my question was going to be, and this is your homework for we'll start next session with a discussion on this. So Balabhadra Prabhu says that his godbrother told him that by chanting his name, his own name, at the time of death, then he will go to Krishna. Now I'm saying to you, use the knowledge that you've gotten from the Nectar of Instruction, from the, I don't know what other books you did, and from the Bhagavad Gita, and respond to this. This is your homework. Note this down, because actually, yeah, this is your homework to think about, and then when we meet next time, we'll discuss it. Because this is exactly why we study the Shastra, so that you don't get bewildered. You know what to do. Ashastram vidim utrija vata te kama. Let me read those series of verses. Let's go to chapter 16, the last two verses of chapter 16. Yashastra vidim utrija vata te kama karata. Nasa siddhim avapnoti nasukam na param gatim. So this is text 23. He who discards scriptural injunctions and acts according to his own whims attains neither perfection, nor happiness, nor the supreme destination. Tasmat shastram pramanam te karya vivrashtito. Gyatpa shastram vidanoktam karma kartum iharhasi. One should therefore understand what is duty and what is not duty by the regulations of the scripture. Knowing such rules and regulations, one should act so that he may gradually be elevated. So think about this. Find any quotes that relate to this, what Balabhadra Prabhu is saying. Find anywhere where Prabhupada had said something like this, Balabhadra Prabhu. And if you have the means, Balabhadra Prabhu, you can follow up with the devotee and ask him to give scriptural reference to that. You've read in the 2nd chapter of the Bhagavad Gita, Prabhupada says that in one of his purports there, that in spiritual circles, we say something and we back it up with scripture. So, dear devotees, go home, think about this, find any Shastric evidence for what Balabhadra Prabhu is saying, or find Shastric evidence against what Balabhadra Prabhu is saying. And then next week you can see and tell me how what Balabhadra Prabhu is saying is in line with the Shastra or it is not. Because this is really the essence of why we study the Shastra. So thank you very much for that question, Balabhadra Prabhu. Much appreciated. Purushottam, last question and then we'll end.
Yes, Prabhu. Thank you very much for the opportunity. My question is still about the typing mistake. The typing mistake in the text 11 translation. How are we going to do that?
Can you read it out again? It's B in your book.
Yeah, VRI.
Yeah.
EAY.
EAY.
And the A, there's hyphen at top.
Yeah. No, it's a typo.
Yeah.
So, what edition are you using? Send me. I want to see, because what I'll do is I'll send this information to Dravida Prabhu, and then they can correct it. So I don't know, because my book is fine and it seems everybody else's book is fine, but I'll send the information anyway. Yeah. Okay. Thank you. Spelling error. Okay, dear devotees, it is now 1:32. Vanchakalpa tarubhyascha kripa sindhubhya evacha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. Take care of yourself. Stay
Hare
safe.
Krishna.
We will see you again next weekend. Hare
We
Krishna.
appreciate you for everything. Thanks very
Thank
much.
you very much. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Rajavasi Prabhu, for forgiving us and for giving us this nectar.